3, 2, 1, showtime!
So, hello, I am Cade, and welcome to Double Feature Movie Club. This week we are talking the movies Night Moves from 2013 and The Monster from 2016. I am joined this week by... Oh boy, wrong thing. Here we go. I am joined this week by Sam Carrico from the Film Fanclub, and as always, Diane.
I love it.
Sam, how are you doing?
I'm feeling spooky, Cade. How are you?
I'm feeling spooky. It's day before Halloween. This will release as a podcast on Halloween Day. Tried to pick some darker films, and then we also dressed up. If you're not watching the video version, we are dressed up.
I'm a vampire.
Vampire. I am my scarecrow that I have been this Halloween. This is my Halloween costume. Diane,
I'm sorry, Cade. That is not a scarecrow. You are Jay Clifford from the Beverly Hillbillies, and you know it.
Okay. And Diane, what are you?
I'm just celebrating Day of the Dead. So I've got my mask on. I got my little headset on. I got zombies going on behind me. So all's good.
All's good. Well, I'm excited to have our guest, Sam. This is his first time joining us here. I did appear on an episode of his show, a few actually, if you're going way back, but recently, recently I was on his review or his Film Fan Club show of the Reservation Dogs season 2.
Yeah, it was a good episode. I think it was just about 45 minutes, an hour long. We went a little bit longer, as we stream on Twitch, the full discussion, and then the highlights appear on the Film Fan Club show. And it was a really in-depth discussion because it's a really good show, Reservation Dogs, and we did an episode about it last year. But I was really happy with our discussion of it this year, and it's one of those shows. We said it during our episode that it's one of those shows that gets better with each season, which is a surprising, it's a nice surprise.
I agree. Yeah. We talked about it in depth there, so we don't go too far into it, but yes, definitely check that out. But we talk a lot about it, and I agree. I think that the second season was better than the first, which is great when you see a TV show continue to evolve and learn its greatness. I am distracted by Diane's animation that she has going on behind her.
Yeah, the projector's looking a lot better now.
Something's happening outside of your window, Diane.
I know, kids. Yes,
Someone's rising from the dead.
That's right. People stop in front of my house just to watch the whole sequence.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not, in a neighborhood, so I don't know. Is tomorrow the day that people trick or treat, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Although I think a lot of churches today did their trunk or treat. This is where you put candy in the trunk and kids come and whatever. But when we were kids, you got one night to get as much candy as you possibly could get and try to hide from your siblings and your parents, right? Now they get like a week. I mean, seriously, these kids there was some kind of festival going on Friday over in
Diane's jealous of the kids.
I'm so jealous. They get multiple costumes. I mean, it's amazing stuff going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, Nemar Center was packed.
Oh yeah. Well, so let's go. So they trick or treat at Nemar.
This is
someone's
Friday
again
night,
outside your window trying to claw in, Diane.
Yeah, that's the zombies. That's the zombies.
I definitely think you want to watch the video version of this to see. I I must say these are pretty impressive, Diane. I have to
And
admit.
it's not even dark out yet.
Yeah.
It's going to get better. It's better.
Mhm.
I have one that I play on Christmas Eve all night, and it's Santa coming down, to the fireplace, and yeah, that's a good one too. Anyway,
Yeah. Well,
every neighborhood should have someone like me.
well, what you could do is, you could duplicate yourself or something, clone yourself, and put yourself in each neighborhood.
I hate to say this, but my neighbor across the street, he does a complete front. He's on a corner lot. He does the entire lot in a haunted yard, kind of obstacle course that kids have to walk through, and it is scary. Oh my! You can hear a kid screaming. They think my house is great after that.
Yeah. Did you ever think about like making classes about how to decorate and how to host a Halloween thing?
Oh, I could take people over to his house.
Okay.
His is much. It's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Haunted. He doesn't give out candy; he just leaves it at the door. Because any kid who's brave enough to get to his door, they can have as much candy as they want. That's how he looks at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, none of my little bitty nieces and nephews will do it. They're like, yeah, no, we're not going over there.
So he doesn't even like stand outside of his door. He just he does all that effort and then doesn't commit to the whole.
He's got cameras. He's videoing the whole thing.
Well, that's even more bizarre. Was that why is he videoing it?
Because he can.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got cameras. He watches these kids coming up, and once in a while, if they're not scared enough, he will do something to scare them even more.
Oh.
He has some remote control things, and anyway, it's quite fun on our corner. They're just relieved to get to my house. It's like, oh, it's a normal house. Yes, we have to walk through giant spider legs, but at least it's not scary. Maybe not much.
Well, Sam, do you have any fun Halloween things?
Yeah, it's been a fun weekend so far. This is a little bit lame, and also inside baseball. But my days off are Friday and Saturday, and I'm usually working Sunday and Monday. But I love Halloween weekend so much that I took off Sunday and Monday this week just so I could go out and do more Halloween things. And that was even before I knew that I would be doing your podcast. So it kind of worked out. So after this, it's what, day three of 4 of just spooky season time. So probably tonight we'll watch a couple of Halloween movies, and then tomorrow the local bar is doing a Halloween thing. So yeah, it's been a fun weekend. And then obviously I mentioned, or we've been talking all about it off camera, that I've released a super big video on my YouTube channel. That released today. It was a Star Wars video essay. It's like an hour long, and it took a lot of work. So I think a little bit of celebration is in order. I feel a weight has been lifted. My goodness. Perfect.
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned. I was going to mention that. Yes, everyone go check out.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'll
drink
some water.
Toasting Sam.
Yeah, exactly. Here's my summer moon coffee. I'll toast to you. My empty cup that I brought for evidence that I went. Go and check out right after this. You can check out Sam's hour-long, in-depth part 1 of 2 video essay of the Disney Star Wars films. I watched the new episode, and it is really really good. And it breaks down. It kind of goes through each of the Force Awakens and Last Jedi and Rogue One, and sort of chronicles the history of even behind the scenes, but also really the decisions made in the film that worked to Sam's perspective, what worked and didn't work.
Yeah, it was a bizarre experience. Because I, like most people, liked The Force Awakens and Rogue One upon first viewing, and then I really tried to like The Last Jedi because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and The Last Jedi, well, without giving too much away, it changed things for me. So the video goes into just all of that, and and shout out to my friends Alex and John. They both help contribute to, because it's like a video essay is a little bit different than my typical film Fanclub show. It just requires a lot more editing, and Alex and John did a great job helping me out, and it may help make it as good as it is. So I'm really proud of it. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk about it.
No problem. Tell you could get more views if you like put Kathleen Kennedy in the thumbnail and like, you know, and with devil horns or something.
And that's the hard thing too, because there's a lot of unvalid criticism that goes towards the Disney Star Wars movies. So I tried to be as like fair as I can, but also it is coming from a subjective point of view because it's just like my experience. So I try and walk that balance.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wish you luck with that. Yeah, I think it's a fair and balanced sort of perspective as to, you know, your view of that. I think Diane, you liked Rogue One, right?
Yes, I did. I did. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah, Star Wars. You know, I was 27 when I stood in line to watch. I think it was the second Star Wars movie, which is like what now the fifth.
Yeah.
I know they changed it all around. Yeah.
Well, now if you include Rogue One and Solo in the middle of that.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I don't even know where to put it now, but I can, you know, at the time, you know, there are movies that occur in your lifetime that change everything. And the Star Wars movies literally changed everything about watching a movie. And it was, they will always, in my memory anyway, for my generation, they'll always have a special place because they absolutely changed everything. The Matrix was like that too. You know, when it first came out, it was like, oh, wow, this changes everything. What was the other one Harrison Ford did with Spielberg?
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones?
Yes. Indiana Jones was like that too. They were movies that literally changed everything. Now, the Marvel movies, when they started, they weren't like that. As they went on, I think they became more, you know, I don't know, unique. Is that the right word? Yeah. But yeah, the first Star Wars, when it first came out, was like...
It was like Jaws was like the first blockbuster, but then Star Wars, like really, like ever since then, there's like been nothing like it, especially with franchises and just the way we approach movie making, almost like that
merchandise.
And like an episodic format and merchandise, like you're saying, it was a game changer. So YouTube.com/The Film Fan Club.
Yes. Oh, good. Yes. Yes.
I can't wait to listen to it because Star Wars has been part of my life since my early 20s. Yeah. And you guys forever.
Right.
So, I mean, are you putting that out as a podcast as well, or is it only on YouTube?
Thank you for asking, Cade. That's a great question. So the Film Fan Club show, which is my late night style talk show, that airs Monday nights typically on the YouTube channel, and you can find it Tuesdays as a podcast. But this is, since the video essay is a little bit different, I wanted it to be exclusive to the YouTube channel because it really, you can definitely listen to it, but there's, again, in part to John and Alex doing the amazing editing that they did, it really benefits, I think, to watch it as well. And luckily with YouTube, you can watch it on 1.5 speed or double speed, so you can get out of the way a little bit faster. But yeah, it's exclusive to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Film Fan Club. Star Wars was it was always my love. I shared that with my grandmother showed me the love of Star Wars and loved Empire Strikes Back, and even the prequels landed in a time in which I really liked them when they came out, and now it's struggled to ever rewatch them. But in the time they meant a lot to me. The particularly Attack of the Clones meant I really liked that one when I was a kid. Watching that. I thought that was a really good one. I can't anymore go back and rewatch those. I've tried. I never liked Attack of the Clones. Even as a kid, it was just the problem. As a kid, it was like, oh, it's just too boring, But now, as an adult, I realize I think it kind of fails in some other areas. But for me, it was Revenge of the Sith is the prequel that I'm like, you know what? The prequels may not be that good, but the Revenge of the Sith I have a soft spot for.
And I like the idea of them, and I love the actor. I know you did care for Obi-Wan. I kind of liked Obi-Wan quite a bit. I think it's, all honesty, probably my favorite thing that Disney Star Wars has done. Because I love those characters. I think that there's something unique about their relationship that is so interesting. The Vader and Obi-Wan relationship, and I thought that they explored that really fascinatingly. It had other things going on that was distracted it a bit, but I thought that was very fascinating. I thought they did that really, really, really well. So I do have a soft spot for the prequels, and if anyone ever asked me to do a Star Wars thing, I would bizarrely do a Jar Jar movie in a heartbeat, or a show about him being, a complete failure, in the fact that everyone views him as the downfall of the Republic. I think that's fascinating. I want that. I want to, like there's like some book where he was like supposed to be like a kind of like a sad like street clown.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think in canon he does not have a happy ending, because they know, like in a meta sense, just how much people. But I love the idea of, you take a Jar Jar spin-off show and treat it like Citizen Kane, or like The Godfather. So just so serious.
Yes,
the opposite of what people expect. You should subvert their expectations.
Yes,
is what you should do.
It's that to me is very fast. I want that. I want that now, and I want that done incredibly seriously. And it's about that. And I think that's. I don't know. I think that would be a fun. That would be my pitch. Otherwise, I wouldn't touch Star Wars. I just wouldn't do it, because it just means too much to me. That's a tough. I mean, like, and that's what you have to understand with even these filmmakers. They're people too, and trying to figure out how when you're asked to do it, you couldn't turn down. If someone asked you to do a Star Wars thing, you do a Star Wars thing.
Right.
But you're not George Lucas. You're not, you come at filmmaking from a different perspective. And so whenever you put it in front of an audience that's like expecting what's been a singular voice for many years, with, some other people here and there that's helped shift that, Marsha Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan and different people. It's become, but still George was a huge part of all those things, that whenever you try to put your voice into it and try to make it unique in a different way, it's, people aren't going to like that, because it's not really what they like about it. And so it's got to be a difficult challenge.
Yeah. It's hard to balance the board, the men in suits, the litany of different things. Well, we got to make sure this happens, and then also but within that, I think we were talking about this before we started rolling. But within the confines that Disney gives you, sure, make your own Star Wars movie, but like you can be creative and stuff, but it has to do all these things. It's just it's a hard, like you said, I don't envy that has that, but I will criticize them from the sideline.
No, and I get that, and I get the especially when you get into Rise of Skywalker, where it's just like everything, it becomes this hodgepodge of just nonsense. You're on and we got to breeze through this, and in so many people, we got to undo The Last Jedi, and we got everyone this whole series is reactions to that the previous movie had, and it's just go for it, just do your vision, and then let people afterwards say that they didn't like it or whatever, instead of constantly course correcting each movie. Did not help it. But they obviously didn't have a plan from the beginning, and that's the biggest problem.
That is the biggest problem. They let every single movie just kind of be like a choose your own adventure kind of for every, or they started it with that idea. They started, and then by the time they were course corrected. What I think a good example of this is and then I swear we can move on to the other thing. The other good example of this is the Zack Snyder's approach to the DC movies. He was going to do Man of Steel, and then Batman vs Superman and Justice League, and then both Batman vs Superman and Justice League were redone in the post-production process. But then they let him go back and do his cut of the film. Yes. And his cut of the film, I think in both of those cases, is way better. So sometimes you should let a filmmaker. And that's why Last Jedi is such a hard thing to do, because sometimes you should let a filmmaker do what they want. Then also sometimes they have bad ideas. Like I don't like how Rian Johnson did Luke Skywalker. So anyways, but yeah, a lot more Star Wars thoughts in the video.
Exactly. Well, great. Yeah. Well, are you ready to get started here? That I think we've delayed, as we say here, delayed the inevitable up top as long as we can. We're going to jump into our movies. Our movies, once again, are Night Moves from 2013 and The Monster from 2016. First one's Night Moves. We're going to play a short little animation, and then Diane will explain the plot of Night Moves.
Not a lot, but I will. let's talk about Night Moves. First off, Night Moves is the name of a boat, not the Seeger song. Just so we have that straight going up. And the Seeger song does not appear anywhere in this movie, sadly.
That is a shame.
That is a shame. I love that song. Anyway,
I do too.
The movie itself is about two Oregon environmentalists, played by Jesse Eisenberg and Dakota Fanning, and a former Marine, played by Peter Skarsgård, which I never say his name right. They hatch a plan to blow up Oregon's Green Peter Dam, which is a hydroelectric dam in Oregon. And this movie's not based on a true story, but it's inspired by one, and I couldn't find out much about the true story along with it. The movie itself is very moody. It's beautifully shot in the northwestern United States with beautiful trees and mountains and hippies or people living off the land, let me put it that way. And the acting is incredible in it, but I digress. Let's talk about what you guys thought of this movie.
Yeah.
I
Very
didn't
briefly.
Want to give too much away.
Yeah, briefly. Let's say did you like this movie, Sam? We'll start with Sam, our guest.
I thought it was good. I liked it probably the second most of the two, but that's not taking away from this movie. I think it's a great acting showcase for the three people here. This was Jesse Eisenberg, like 3 years or so after he did my favorite film. One of my favorite films of all time is The Social Network, and he gives a pretty subdued performance. Not really subdued, I guess, but a pretty subdued performance here that has tinges of kind of the same kind of personality types that he was going for there. So yeah, I like the acting showcase in this movie. I think it's the best. I could really see why the three of them, the three leads in this, would be drawn to it. I had never seen Dakota Fanning, I believe is the lady. Yeah, I've never seen Dakota Fanning because I'm more used to her as a child actress. So this was a nice change of pace for her. And I think Peter Skarsgård is super underrated of the Skarsgård family because you often hear about the others in that family. I think Stellan and
is he related to the other ones?
Isn't they're all in the same family, right?
I thought so too, but I think his is Sarsgaard, and they're Skarsgård.
Oh, you're right. He's not.
His is Sarsgaard.
Get rid of that.
He's not related.
Get rid of that entire line of thought that I was just.
Fun fact. I was writing that same thing down. Like I'm like he's kind of like what is he in this family? And then I looked it up, and it's like completely different spelling, and so I always thought he was somehow related to them.
Deleting that. No.
He is married to Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Mm-hmm. I'd learned all this yesterday, so yes, I didn't know that either. Yeah, he's married to Maggie Gyllenhaal.
I just looked at the name.
Yeah. Did you like the movie, Diane?
Yes, I did. I thought there were some problems with it. I think from a plot and a storyline perspective, they kind of. Especially with Dakota Fanning's character, because she was the one that was so slick in, the more stressful situations that they were in, trying to buy the fertilizer. She was definitely
she's the one who bought the boat.
Money,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she bought the boat. She obviously from a wealthy family, knew how to handle herself in a lot of different situations. So why would she go off the deep end that quickly after they blew up the dam? So it didn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. Because she was much more cutthroat than Jesse Eisenberg. I expected him to go off the deep end, because he seemed a little bit more fragile of a character than her.
I think the point was to sort of, to put these characters under pressure and see kind of like how, I think the point is that they chipped differently than you would sort of expect. And that and the fact of the movie is of like, everyone's giving these subdued performances, and that's the whole thing is like they're very distant and very kind of until it all goes awry, and then they all sort of react in different ways. And I think that and they all kind of three do different things, which I think it was also fascinating that Peter Skarsgård or whatever, his character became very passive. Became very the guy who was very active about the entire thing and like, let's do this and everything. And it was somewhat seemingly his plan and everything to be like, you need to take care of this stuff. And but I'm not doing anything. And essentially I'm just going to sit back and not do anything, but I'm going to kind of force you to do that.
Yeah, I thought he was manipulative the entire movie.
Yes, I
thought he played right into who he was.
Yes.
His goal was to manipulate, Jesse into doing something about, what's her name? Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Dina. Yeah. Once she started wigging out, I mean, I think he manipulated Jesse's character, Josh. Yeah. I don't think he really changed. I think he was just a manipulative guy.
I think that they altered a bit, but like they exaggerated sort of their traits and things. Yeah. But I must say, so I want to say, I love this movie. I think this was a really fabulous movie. I do think it, at a certain point near the end, I'm thinking it's going to go off the rails. But I do think that the point that they were sort of trying to make was very fascinating by the end of it, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of on board with the sort of. With it all, but I was a little nervous there when it starts to get sort of its darker tendencies of like, oh, let's not do that whole thing. But
I think everything escalated at a pretty good pace because then I don't know how much we're getting into spoilers, but there's some big stuff that happens towards the end, and by the time those characters make those big decisions, I'm like, oh, I could see that.
You could see it,
exactly.
But I could see the line of thinking, and on the characters, I liked I liked the characterization of Dakota Fanning, and I didn't get like a lot of inconsistency there. I kind of from the get-go got the fact that she was kind of a like an archetype and maybe even a caricature of a kind of richer person who cares tangentially about these issues and is like, oh, I want to be involved in the cause, but has never really considered it that much. And then whenever they get themselves in over their head, they start freaking out because, again, they never really considered it that much. So whenever she started freaking out, I thought that was very in character for that archetype and that type of person. And I like the way that the differences between the way she reacted to it and the way Jesse Eisenberg both kind of freaked out, but just in different ways. Whereas, and then the guy, Pete, not Stellan Skarsgård's son, but not him, but we thought that, like you were saying, we thought he was going to be the person that causes the trouble the whole time. I think the film was almost like priming me to think that he was going to be like a narc or something, like he was going to get him. And then whenever he exits the story pretty gracefully, it doesn't really have without incident for the most part. I like that subversion.
Yeah, this movie does a good job of ratcheting the tension. Like it starts out incredibly slow and intentionally, and it sets you in this world and these sort of characters, and it really shows the sort of escalation by the end. Because I mean, it's so essentially it's an hour before the dam's even blown up, and so it spoiler, I guess. I mean, that's the point of the movie. that eventually happened.
I liked that, though.
They actually did blow it up.
Yes.
So when you looked at motivation, right, Harmon, Peter, it was like, okay, this is the guy that just wants to blow stuff up, right? I mean, he is the mastermind on how to blow it up. He wants to blow stuff up. Josh wants to make a difference in the world. He wants to make an impact in the world because, he's living off the land and et cetera, et cetera. And Dakota Fanning, I think you're right in the sense that she has this kind of wealthy white liberal perspective.
Right.
What'd she say? She took a class and learned all this stuff, and then she dropped out of school and decided to pursue, becoming a martyr to the cause kind of thing. Yeah. Yet she worked in a spa. And I love the opening sequence because, first off, I've never seen Jesse Eisenberg not speak for that long, ever. Have you guys? I mean, ever. He was quiet that long.
That's a good point.
Yeah, he's a lot less talkative. Like that, his thing is like the rapid fire sort of. Let me speak real quick and everything. This one,
that's good. I like that about this movie.
It was really a departure from what you expect from him, and I think that's what sets the movie apart. And I truly loved it. What did you think about the ending?
We're going to jump to the before we jump to the ending.
We've already told everybody they blew it up.
So it's a 2-hour film. To me, that's we'll walk through here. It's a 2-hour film. An hour into the movie, they blow up the thing, and then the rest of it is the sort of ramifications of that. And it starts speeding up, like in a movie where these people lived an average life, a slow life, really. An easy, a simple. As far as from that perspective, it's very as most of our lives are with non-blowing up a dam. It's, a little bit slower pace than whenever, you've blown up a dam now and the ramifications of that ensue. So then news starts spreading and everything, and everyone starts talking about, hey, this dam got blown up. They set a rule that they weren't going to communicate with each other. I'm explaining this to our audience who have not seen this movie, by the way, Sam, just so you know. I know that you have seen this movie.
So they won't have to watch it.
Yeah, so they don't have to, no. I mean, it's just so. I don't know. I hope that they have. This is one case. I do think you should watch the movie without it sort of getting spoiled. But here we go. We're gonna go into spoilers here. So the ramifications are then they're not supposed to reach out to each other. They start reaching out to each other. And Peter, whatever that character was, what's the character's name? Harmon, you said? Yes.
Harmon.
They're brothers. I don't think we ever said that. Jesse Eisenberg and him are brothers. He's like saying, hey, Dakota Fanning, whatever her character's name is not taking it well and everything. And then, I mean, things ensue from that, and people start, I think, speculating. I don't exactly know how they start knowing that it's him. Do you know how they started? But that became, people started saying that. I guess she was speaking. Is that what the sort of implication was?
Yeah, the family that he lived with and worked with, that she was close to the wife and had called and was very upset and saying about her feelings. And I think that the father of that family just put two and two together, and that's when he sat down with Josh, Jesse's character, and told him he didn't want to go to jail for him. So
the important thing that we did not mention, that's kind of the whole thing, is that someone died. Someone who there was a person in the water, a camper or something, that when the water flooded, they died. Well, at first they were missing and they were looking for them, and then they found his body. And so that's the ramifications of this sort of thing. I thought that was good. I mean, I think it puts in perspective sort of the whole point that they were trying to do was save the environment and save these fish. That's the sort of idea, was that we were going to somehow save this fish population. And they've killed a human being through their actions, and I think that sort of shows their different perspectives of and it shows really the depths of humanity in this sort of situation, and particularly Jesse Eisenberg's case of like someone who initially had good causes, but then becomes very much, I'm going to preserve myself in this situation, and I found that very fascinating.
Yeah, I did too. The parts of it that really hit me was, here they wanted to blow up this dam, but the reality is there what they say, there were 6 dams on this river.
Yes.
So the idea really wasn't to provide a way for salmon just, to swim upstream, because there's 5 other dams that would have to go to. And so it really would be better if people would just take an hour off their cell phone every day, and you wouldn't need that dam, that's the better approach. But it was like, okay, but we're still going to blow it up anyway.
But yeah, that wasn't, whether or not like that wasn't talked about, like either they didn't know that, which I don't know. I'd imagine that they knew that, but that was, they were presented later that they would have to have blown up this, these 6 other dams to really make a difference. But I think that's part of like in that opening, or one of the opening scenes, they go to this film that someone made, this environmental film that kind of talks about the entire sort of perspective of this film. It sets up of like, do we do this what are we supposed to do to solve this environmental crisis? Is it this incremental change, we vote or whatever, or do something, or do we do something big, or is it just small sort of actions? And it's talked about from Peter Skarsgård's character that they have done other things in the past, some sort of other little protests or some sort of act, some other probably acts of terror. I don't exactly know what they did, but this was their biggest thing yet. And I found that to also be fascinating, of like, what is the sort of correct thing to do in this environment? And it's obviously not hurting people. That's the line that they end up crossing. But what is the sort of thing that you can do? And because people aren't going to stop using their phones. But is that the people to blame, or is it the sort of the infrastructure there?
I'm gonna replace my camera battery real quick.
Okay.
So when they went through the to load the boat into the water,
Mhm.
and they go through the boat dock, and there are all these other people there. At that point, they should have realized if there are people upstream, there's probably people downstream. You know what I mean? They
Mhm.
kind of, it was one of those moments where it's like, okay, guys, this is not a good idea to do this because look at all these people here. And yes, we are upstream, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people downstream. The other thing that I really liked is that they showed what people who camp today, what it's like. They got their big screen TV going,
Mhm.
you know, at the campsite. They're really not there to camp. They're there to glamp or whatever
Mhm.
they call that now. So,
Yes.
so I thought that was kind of interesting too. You know,
Yeah, I agree. I think it explored the sort of intricacies of that, and the fact that there's really no simple solution to this, and that but they're wrong. I think that's sort of, I think the point is that but what is, I mean, is it worse to just let these sort of things happen, and you're right. The point is also that how sort of naive their perspective is. Like that
right.
is very much the intentional point of the film, is that they're looking at this incredibly naively, and that you can't just blow up a dam and fix some sort of issue, or that even you're going to blow up a dam and think that there's going to be no sort of ramifications, no human ramifications, is also ridiculous. They kind of are. It's surprising that there only was one person that was injured.
I was surprised by that too. I thought there's
Mm-hmm.
no way they could account for every human being that would be impacted by this. They're
Mm-hmm.
lucky they didn't wipe out a town.
Mm-hmm.
Which I could have seen her reacting that way if
Mm-hmm.
they had wiped out a town or an entire family.
Yes.
But one guy, that was like,
But I do think
she
that was
chewed
a
up those
smart.
old men in that trailer like they were nothing.
Yeah, I do
That
think
girl
that
was-
was a smart choice to make it one human life than
Yeah.
like because then that is clearly there's children involved or something, and it's like, okay, well
Yeah.
that's just horrific and bad. But when it's like one human life, I think it balances and makes it a lot more interesting of an idea of like what is the line here, and when it's one person gone, that's also incredibly awful and horrific.
But they could obviously live with it.
But the good, like, what is the good sort of part of that? And it's like, is it
Right.
just the fish? Is that what we're doing all this for? Is just for fish and the fact that shaming people that they shouldn't use cell phones? That was the point, but it's also just seems weirdly misguided and not really thought out. I don't know. What's your favorite scenes of this movie? I guess I don't ask that enough. What's some standout scenes of this?
So I liked the scene. I have a couple written down here. I like the scene where they're buying fertilizer.
Yes, I was gonna say that,
where the tension is they do an excellent job of building the tension. I like a scene where they're building fertilizer, and I like the scene where they get stopped by the cops as soon as the explosion happens. They get stopped by the cops, and they look through the pickup truck, and that was like I was like, what's going to happen, And I also have go ahead.
Sam, I like that they included his boots in that shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
When
all
I saw
that
his boots, I was like,
cop
uh-oh.
Yeah.
All that cop had to do was look down, and it was case closed, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that was fascinating, and like you were thinking, they had set up this IDs, quite a bit, and like where's that going to go? And I think that sort of, I liked there was a really confident director of like, we're going to set up all these sort of things and like put different and like the boots and different stuff in it, like what's going to be paid off and what is just added for sort of tension, because I cluing in sort of different parts that they could have gotten caught, and are they going to, and everything. I think that was incredibly smart as to what was paid off and what wasn't, and what was sort of just in the back of your head that's like, oh no, this is something that could catch them, was incredibly smart. And it was very well done on that perspective. But yeah, I like the fertilizer scene. I like where she's talking. She goes in and talks to the where the fact that it was supposed to be like a simple in and out, and then it's like, oh, where's your 50-pound bags? Oh, it's around back. And then it goes around back and talks to them, and they're like, oh no, you have to go talk to the front office. And then that whole scene with the manager there was incredibly incredibly tense. And she's a great liar. She was a great liar.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really didn't have much of a conscience. That's why it was really strange that she would go off the deep end because somebody died. Because I think of those three characters, she seemed like she would be the one who would expect that to happen. Or in Peter Harmon.
I was going to say he seemed the most morally ambiguous to me, but then I liked that it turned out to be Jesse Eisenberg was the worst of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I thought that was very fast. Like when they go to the lake and it's or the river or whatever, and there was people like he's like, oh, you said there was going to be a lot less people here, you know, and like just a lot of that stuff that he was incredibly nervous about the whole situation. Yeah. Yeah,
because I think he realized if there were this many people at this campsite, there could be people downstream. You know, he was the only one that, hey, you know what? Maybe we should rethink our timing here. Yeah.
And I also liked whenever they set up the bomb, and we're saying a lot of words that might get us flagged in certain sort of situations, but and they start, on their canoe paddling away, and that fam or whoever, that group sort of appears there, and they're like, oh no, that's not a good location, and they sit there for like 10 minutes of their time watching them, and like that, just that sort of tension of like, oh no, are they going to be able to go back? Do they go back? And you could see, Peter was very much like, oh, I don't, when they do go back, like not wanting to stop the thing. And that whole tension there, and then they do eventually leave, and then you're like, oh no, do they have enough time to escape the area because they've wasted like 17 minutes of their 30 minutes time? Yeah, very, very tense, and I think they did a great job of, I liked how low key that the first hour was. Like, it really made it, like, it made you believe these characters. They weren't like overly exaggerated. They were kind of a little distant, but I liked that. I liked that a lot.
I like how much time we spent with them planning the heist, for lack of a better word. And I honestly, I didn't know how much of the aftermath, because we spent so much time. I looked up and I was like, oh my God, they spent right at the first half of the movie is the setup, and the second half is the aftermath. It was really well structured. I liked that.
Yeah, and you look up, like, I was like looking up the plot of it afterwards, and like I'm like, and they like the first like paragraph, they essentially say, they said it, they kind of lay the things, and they're like, and then they blow up the dam, because that's really all like it's all set up. Like, you don't need to, at the end of the day, that first hour, you don't really even need to know plot wise what happens in the movie. Like, you don't need to know the whole fertilizer sequence happened. You don't need to know how all this other stuff happened. At the end of the day, it just matters that they blew up the dam. But it matters for the point of for character work, for their motivations. Like, I mean, like, all that's very important to the film, but not plot. That's not important to the plot.
Well, and they kind of leave it a little bit ambiguous in the sense that Dakota Fanning and Jesse Eisenberg are like together, and then they're not, and she's with Peter Sarsgaard's character.
Yes.
And then, so that was kind of, I thought that was interesting too. Again, a moral choice on her part. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I guess we can go into real spoilers here. This is the real spoilers. He kills Dakota Fanning. So real spoilers here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And
but I think he's manipulated into doing it.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Yeah.
And he goes over, and like that's also an intense scene of when he's the doors open, she's at her, like, she's closing up at the sauna she works at, and like the doors open, and then he's obviously in there, and then like him appearing to her in just complete silence, like that was, and like what are you doing here, like that, like, and why he's there, and she knows it.
To talk to her,
yeah,
and her reaction to him just talking to her is, oh, he's a serial killer now, he's going to kill me.
Yes.
It was kind of a strange moment in there where, but then I think they tried to make it more tense between the two of them, but I don't know. It was kind of strange because he was like, look, you've got to stop talking to people about this. And
I think he was even kind of like he wasn't prepared, I think, to do that until
think
she
he was.
reacted that he was going to do that. Like, I think that was also a very interesting sort of thing of like, that's a very nuanced sort of thing that in most movies wouldn't be that nuanced about that. Like, this was if he would just go there to kill her. But in this situation, I think he was so nervous about doing this. I mean, he didn't want to do this until she reacted like, you're here to kill me. And then he sort of that, okay, yes, that is the role that I'm doing here, and I'm going to do it like that.
Which it made you wonder kind of what kind of conversation did Harmon have with her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I didn't even think about that.
Because like they had been having a lot of conversations in between there.
That's a good point.
Evidently, and for some reason, when she saw him at the door, she thought, "Oh, he's here to kill me." And why would she think that unless Harmon had manipulated her into believing that? Harmon, I think, gets everything he wants out of this deal.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. The idea that he's so many steps ahead. He's like, oh, I could get them to take each other out, and then I'll be scot-free.
Because really, there's not much blood on his hands because she was the one who bought this fertilizer.
Exactly. In the boat.
And
And Jesse was with her when they bought the boat. I mean, it really and truly, he kind of manipulated the entire thing. It was very masterfully done, though. And I think part of that manipulation was him having an intimate relationship with Dina, knowing that she was kind of with, Jesse or Josh.
Whatever. Flipping back and forth, yeah. And so from that point on, he then leaves and calls him and like, hey, he's like, get off the grid completely or whatever. And very fascinatingly, he goes and then gets rid of the phone and then tries to apply to this camping place there. And he's sitting there looking at a job application in which it's like asking his name and where he's from and like he's in everything, and then he looks up and I think sees like a very reoccurring thing is the sort of cameras and the idea that they're sort of everywhere, and the fact that there is no escaping in this modern world. That like I think that's a big part of it is the cell phones and this idea that like a big part you can't commit crimes anymore, you can't get away with it, and there's none of that anymore. And like he's sitting there and he's like, I can't even do an alias. This is, he's going to get caught. He's going to get caught, and it's just a matter of time. I
was like, why not go to Mexico instead of California? I mean, just keep going south. You got an ID that'll get you through, the border. So keep going. But instead, he decides to go to work for a camping store. Whatever.
And then they're all on their phones still. Like, I think that was also important, intentional. He looks up and there's these people on their phones. Like nothing happened, like that. Like he was just he just did a small community, and even that, it didn't even affect them. But he's looking up, and people are still going to do the same thing that they're going to do. And
they're going to get their Starbucks. Yeah.
And so, what was the point? He destroyed his life, is what he did.
Right.
And
Dakota Fanny's life.
Yes.
And his brother Carmen got to blow stuff up.
Yeah, he did.
It's a win-win for everybody.
It's a very pessimistic movie.
Yeah.
I did enjoy. I think it showed these characters' perspectives really well. I don't know. Okay, so Diane, since it's your movie to explain, would you recommend this movie, and what would you rate it?
Yeah, I would recommend this movie. I think it's not real preachy from an environmentalist perspective, which I think people worry about.
Yes.
If you read the description, it's not super, super preachy. I think that you can see why people kind of get caught up in stuff.
Yeah, and I think it does it in a very interesting, like it makes it where it's kind of sort of mocking them, but like also very earnestly telling them like, here's why they come from this perspective. Like I think it does it in a very nuanced way that's like, I think they're saying what these people are, even at times whenever they're acting a little bit ridiculously or a lot ridiculously.
Yeah.
So
yes, I would recommend it. Yeah. Eva's on, you can watch this movie.
Yeah, there's no animals in it at all.
I think she would enjoy it, actually.
I think so too.
She may have watched it. Yeah, she may have watched it.
Yeah.
And,
I think so too. I think in general people would like. I think it's it's a thriller, so it's fun. I think it's a little bit more art house than some thrillers, but like still, I think it works. Sorry, this is your recommendation, Diane. Sorry, I'm stepping.
Yeah. The good news is you don't actually see a dam blow up.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it; they didn't have to do any special effects.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. I liked that they didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So, what would you rate this movie, Diane?
Well, I didn't look at what they were drinking.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Give me some coffee cups, I guess, because at the end there was the lady with the Starbucks coffee.
Mm-hmm. How many do you want, Diane?
I think I'd give it 4. I really enjoyed it. I wish I had watched this movie this morning instead of last night.
I agree. Yeah, I did the opposite too.
Yeah, I wish I'd have watched The Monster last night because it would have been more fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did.
Well, that was the right way of doing it. I agree.
Absolutely, Sam, you were right on this one.
Yes, I think I watched them the opposite where I did like you where I did this one last night and then The Monster this morning. Okay. Sam, would you recommend this movie, and what do you rate it? And there's really no rules to our ratings. So.
Okay, good. Thank goodness. I would recommend it with a lot of caveats. I enjoyed it a lot. I like that it's a slow burn. I think it's a fantastic acting showcase, and I like Jesse Eisenberg probably more so than a lot of people. So and I have a lot of friends that are actors or aspiring actors, so I would recommend it to all of them because this is just a great acting showcase. Another thing, I think the characterization we talked about is really well, and what I like is that the film doesn't really hold your hand through that. You get who these characters are through their actions and through the way they react to the things that are happening in the script. So I would recommend it with a lot of caveats, but of course I would recommend the other movie more because it's Halloween. So you gotta watch a monster movie. If you're gonna watch one of these two movies before the end of the day on Halloween, then watch the other one. But this one I would also recommend. It's a great film. It's an evergreen movie. I would give it 5 bags of popcorn and 2 bags of fertilizer.
I didn't know there was a fertilizer emoji. I really wish there wasn't.
I don't know if there is.
So 5 popcorns from Sam.
That's a good one.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wish I had popped some popcorn.
Yeah. Maybe you get some during the intermission. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Everything's
then you'd hear
popcorn.
I really like this movie quite a bit. I thought it was, I was very impressed by it. I do agree. I think when you go into it, you're like, or you read the synopsis, you're like, oh boy, is this going to be preachy, or is it going to be, what's it going to sort of be with these environmentalist characters? But I think it treats it with nuance really well. And like you said, I think acting is a really great, you definitely can understand why people would take this movie and take the role there. And I think, to me, it's the script that shines and the direction. I think it's a director that knows really how to focus in on these characters and the little moments of things and to build up tension. Like, really, the pacing was incredible. So yeah, I really liked it. So I'm going to give it my review is a boat, a canoe, a bomb, an explosion, and a dead person. That's what I'm going to give it. That's what I'm going to give it.
There you go. You got them all there. The boat, the canoe, the bomb, explosion. It looks like Amazon is giving us vegetables.
Yes,
at least I hope that's what she's trying to do. Yeah, she also
carrot and a cucumber and an eggplant emoji as well. I did have one negative gripe about this movie, and I noticed it whenever they were putting together. It was on Peter Sarsgaard when they were doing that, and he was wearing a thin shirt, and he quite obviously had a mic pinned up underneath it. And then from that point on, noticed it throughout the movie of anyone who was wearing a thin shirt. They very obviously had these mics on
really?
throughout the entire movie. Very obviously they were wearing these little mics, right? And so that was like, I wish I hadn't have noticed that. That took me out of the movie way too much, of noticing all these people with little mics on their shirts.
The only problem that when you're talking technical things, right,
Mhm.
that don't add up.
Yeah.
First off, the little ski boat, I guess, tri-hull boat, or it
Mhm.
wasn't. It was a V-hull boat. It would not have been sitting in the water that way with 500 pounds in the front. It would have been a lot lower in the water, and it would have been tilted down. He would
Yes.
have had to trim up the motor quite a bit to get it to even go forward, But yeah,
The other
but
thing I noticed, they didn't cover. They quite obviously had like hundreds of these yellow bags of fertilizer just stuffed in there, and like they showed them taking off to go there with no door or anything, and it just quite obviously there was all these yellow bags in the doorway of this cabin of this boat, and I'm like, they're traveling past all these people. And I mean, I guess it's kind of high up and it'd be hard to see, but still. No attempt to cover that with anything.
yeah.
That's another thing that I was just like, why are they not doing that?
Well, somebody surely would have noticed the way that boat was sitting in the water a bit.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, Ava's one of our viewers and she joins us every so often when we don't talk about horror films.
Yeah.
She says, I liked it, not as much as you guys, but I liked it. Yeah, this is my cup of tea. This type of movie is I like little thrillers that are well acted and well directed and everything. I haven't seen any of this director's other movies. She did First Cow. Did you watch First Cow, Sam? Okay, that's one that might want to add Diane to the list.
Okay.
So and might add a few of hers because I really did like the direction and writing there, and she wrote this along with a writing partner, and they write often together, and they wrote First Cow. First Cow is supposed to be really great, so we'll add that. I'm going to add it to our list. Okay, next we're going to go into our intermission, and then Sam, who is a Dracula right now, he's going to walk us through the plot of our second feature, which is The Monster from 2016, A24 movie, Zoe Kazan, starring movie, right after this short little intermission. Be sure to grab something from the concession stand.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's intermission time. All these delicious treats are waiting for you at the refreshment stand. Delicious fresh popcorn, ice-cold cola, and candy you know and love. They're all ready for you now, so you won't have to miss any of the feature. Come and get them.
And now, on with the show.
Okay, The Monster is about Ray, who is a scavenger on Jakku, who meets up with Finn, and then they team up. Oh, sorry, these are the wrong notes. Hang on, let me get the correct notes. Okay, got the correct notes. Okay, yes, The Monster is a 2016 film from A24, starring Zoe Kazan. Not sure on the pronunciation there. It also has a child actor, Ella Ballantine, who plays her daughter, Zoe Kazan's daughter. Zoe Kazan is a troubled mother, and her daughter, as I mentioned, is a child. They find themselves stranded at night on a country road with a malicious creature hunting them. So it's a monster movie, troubled mother, her daughter, on the run from the monster. Guys, what did you think of The Monster?
Good. First off, I wanted to say we also don't know how to pronounce Zoe Kazan's name. We have had her on this. We've reviewed movies of hers. We have to have had at least, this has got to be our fourth or fifth Zoe Kazan movie, but have made no attempts to look up how she pronounces her name. So we're sticking with Kazan, I think is what we're going to do. Until we know differently.
As long as we say it confidently.
Yeah, exactly. As long as we don't admit on air that we don't know what we're saying. Kazan is what Ava says. Well, Ava.
I think we just call her Zoe.
Yeah, we're at this point, we're on first name basis with her, I think.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, Diane, what did you think of this movie?
I was really surprised that this was Zoe Kazan.
Mm-hmm.
First off, because all the other movies I've ever seen her in, she plays Okay, it was correcting us here. Maybe it's Gazone, but anyway,
Kazone.
this is the first character I've actually seen her play where she is. I'm going to call it. I don't know. Has more depth, maybe, or is troubled, or a drunk alcoholic, terrible mother. I mean, if I did not recognize her. I mean, go for it, girl. That's what I kept thinking. Is like you are really into this because this is like. This is so far from who she really is, or
what we've seen her
play.
She plays quirky. She plays typically. I mean, like that's what she plays. Sweet. I admit. I put on here. I found it incredibly hard to believe her in this role. Because I've known her from these other things so much that I found it to be a little bit like. I don't know. I don't know if I've just seen her too much in that role, but that I couldn't. It seemed very much like someone acting in a perspective that they aren't usually in.
Maybe it might be a little bit of you've seen her in a lot, or maybe I'm just too lenient with these sorts of things. I remember Zoe from The Big Sick, which I haven't seen in like 5 years or so since it's been in the theater, but I remember liking that movie a lot when I saw it in the theater, and I liked her in it a lot. And like you guys were saying, I got like quirky, kind of vibes, more upbeat, and so I was apprehensive going into this movie, knowing because I have the DVD and it has her name on the top of the DVD. I was like, I know her. What's she going to be like in this movie? And I was really surprised. I think she just went right into this role, and then after like 5 minutes, I completely bought into it because she does give it her all in this performance.
Maybe it's just a me thing.
Yeah, it is to use it. I think she completely committed to it, and she was totally believable. And I completely forgot, her other things that I'd seen her in. Yeah. So it's just you. It's just
you. Okay. I feel like I see the seams of her acting more than other actors. And I hate to say that sort of be disparaging of a person, but I do think that maybe it's because I just know so many actors that are her type of actors that like I don't know, like it seemed a little like dress up.
She does look a little young to be a mom, especially I don't know how old the kid is supposed to be in this movie. There was a couple times where I was like, how old are you? Hang on.
I agree, Sam. She does look very young. She looks young anyway. She's 39 years old,
and I think that character is supposed to be
30.
She's 39 years old.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
And this movie's 5 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah. So she was in her middle 30s, but she still looks really young for age. But she was also, I think, probably had this girl when she was really young, too.
Yes. I think that's important.
So that's why she's so completely ill-prepared to be a mother. And, there are people out there that at a very young age have to become the mom. For their for their mothers, and I think they really captured that part.
Yes,
at least from the people that I know that have had to do it, and my friends who I've seen them where their daughters had to take care of their moms like that.
And I thought the little girl was amazing in this.
She was amazing.
Like that. I'm. Child actors oftentimes it's like and we've seen a few
can be horrible.
Yeah, and we've seen some that in our movies that we've watched here that I'm like, oh boy. And this one was like she did amazing. And I think that she did a great job of ranging from like at times she had to be the adult in the situation, and at times she was a kid. Like that's like in like so little things that would appear like when she's like acting very childlike, but then other times it was she had to step up and be the adult in the situation. And I thought they did a really good job of that, of where they would switch back and forth in those roles quite a bit.
I was thinking, the mom is the monster, and then the child is the monster. Oh no, they really have a separate monster. Because they do have. Yeah, they both have monster traits, kind of, and mother-daughter kind of traits that you inherit from your mom, kind of thing, going on too. But I kind of the part of the film that I enjoyed most was their relationship.
Yeah,
and how they were surviving their relationship or not surviving. The flashbacks to me were informative of the current situation, but they at the same time were the more interesting parts to me. Because as you know, I'm not a horror fan.
Yeah. Well, the creature design, talking about the horror, the creature design was incredibly well done. That was a really great design creature. But yes, I agree. I mean, any horror that
Until
they
he caught fire, and then you could see the cape that they used. You know, the blanket, the fire blanket. Yeah. Oops.
Yeah, I thought, I like movies horror movies that have a little bit more to it. I do think so. Okay, so you like the movie Diane?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Sam, did you like the movie a lot?
I loved this movie. I thought it was fantastic.
Okay. I less so. It's not on the horror side that I really like. I to me, it leans a little too looking studio. Looks a little too James Wan for my taste. That I was wanting a little bit more of a A24 vibe, which is an A24 film.
Which is, the A24 buys the cheapest film you can get. That's really what it is.
And so I was wanting a little bit more art house from this movie, and it gave me a little bit, the direction was a little bit more A24. Oh, she's going into Ava's in our chat going into the history of Zoe's family.
Yes. Yeah, I see that. I think we've actually talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
With Ruby Sparks, because she wrote in that one. Anyway,
yes. Sorry,
I digress.
Yeah, no. So I wasn't the hugest fan of it. It was, and I love horror. Obviously, Diane could speak to how much I love horror. But it just this one wasn't my cup of tea.
Okay, compared to Mandy.
Oh, it's better than Mandy.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
in my opinion, I shouldn't say better. I liked it more than Mandy.
It's the look of the film and the. What else is it about the film that you don't like?
I don't particularly like her performance. I was taken out quite a bit from her performance. I thought, and then secondly, I didn't like the look of the film, and I think that was a big part of it. Is that it just the way it was shot was very seemingly studio horror, which I immediately when I see that I check out. I'm like, ugh, okay, and then it's, and it's a little too contained. The fact that it's like on one road the entire movie, I don't know.
That's great.
Okay, great.
I like that, and then I like that the flashbacks help separate out the monotony of the one setting. So I mean, maybe if there wasn't all the flashbacks, then maybe I would.
The
feel
end to going into the end, I thought we repeated beats of like, didn't we already say goodbye to the mother? And then like, why?
That's fair. I don't think the ending is very. I don't like their plan at the end.
Yes,
it's kind of throwing stuff at the wall. I think the stronger parts of the film are the relationship, the parallels between how they act in the flashbacks whenever they're consciously saying they hate each other, and then seeing how subconsciously they'll do things for each other and how much they actually love each other, and just exploring that difficult dynamic between the mother and daughter. I thought was so strong in this film. But yeah, I don't like that they show the monster as much as they do. I think monsters are better like in the shadows, and you see this one very clearly. And I'm like, once you do that, I'm like, deflated a little bit. But I don't know. The ending didn't bother me as much as you.
Yeah, the monster was scarier whenever he was just stealing people and then throwing them back.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the monster design. I'll be the other person on that too.
But the monster
I like the
was
monster
kind of
design.
like an ape with a beak.
Yeah,
That's kind of what he looked like.
I kind of like the monster design quite a bit, and like it's I thought it was kind of on the better sort of creature designs that I've seen. It's obvious that they spent. That's to me where they spent their money at, and and that and the rain machine. Another quite obvious.
How long it took him to shoot this movie, but boy, those poor people were wet the entire time.
Yeah, they were, and just constantly having to like. I mean, it was quite obviously a rain machine at various points, but yeah, I
like the fact that we had some progression in the characters from the perspective that we went from the mom yelling at her daughter to get her own ride to her freaking play to dying.
Yes, good scene. Yeah, which I think that was
she-
always the undercurrent of that. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
they sort of like they say these things to each other. It's like I there was a lot there. So originally I looked into it. Elizabeth Moss was originally cast in this role.
That would have been interesting.
And that it's kind
I
of.
wonder if she would have been better in this, maybe.
It also would have been a departure for her, but I do think that she's a little bit more capable.
Believable in the role.
She's also a Scientologist. Fun fact about.
I know.
Oh, well, then that's how you know she's a good actress.
I don't know. I like to see actresses and actors to go out there and do something completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I liked about the last movie with Jesse Eisenberg. I have never seen him that quiet for that long, ever.
Yeah.
I mean, usually he's that rapid fire delivery, and every character he has is neurotic, and all these different things about him, and he was so, toned down in it. And then flip that, you go from, I always think of Zoe as kind of the glass is half full kind of girl, to a freaking raging lunatic. And I have friends that, like I said, in my past that had problems with alcohol that actually acted exactly like that, to their own daughters. And, that messes up a daughter, right, Ava? Anyway. So, yeah, I'm glad Ava didn't see this movie, mainly because there is blood. There's a lot of shocks, too. There's, where they come up with it. What's it called whenever they throws an arm at the window and you're not expecting
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Like a jump scare.
Yes, the jump scare. A lot of jump scares. Oh, my gosh. So, yeah.
I also didn't like the music. I thought the music was very derivative and basic, and I think that that can go a long way in a film like this of creating ambiance, and it just seemed very much like horror movie music. And
that's fair.
And I think that's where the aesthetics sort of come in for this movie. That's I think it could have elevated a lot of its material, because I don't have a problem at all with the script except for the third act, and even then I don't think it, in a better film, it wouldn't destroy it at all. They could have tightened it up a little bit or whatever with the two goodbyes to the mother, but
I do like it. They rolled the ambulance though.
Well, I also
it was a pretty good shot.
I liked how the point was, I felt like, with the sort of plan at the end, was that the daughter seemed to be more capable than the mother in a lot of respects, and that the mother made bad decisions throughout. And I think that that was I think was the point, was to sort of say that she again made a bad decision and the daughter had a better idea of what to handle this situation in, I'm assuming is the point of that ending, because she does not go with her mother's plan and in fact defeats the monster in her own way that was not what her mother told her to do. Yeah, I guess what the point was. I don't know if you want to. Is that what you got from it? I don't know.
I think the third act is the weakest of the three, and I think you're right, and that's probably what they were going for. But then it almost makes me feel like, oh, did the mom die for nothing?
It feels like the mom died for nothing. That is one of my biggest complaints about the thing, is that she very much died for nothing. Very much. She didn't it was obvious that in this type of movie that it was going to be the mother sacrifices herself that's where the arc was always going to go. Oh, she really did care for her. Of course they loved each other. They were mother and daughter. What we're going to expect.
Because she was a redeemable human being. Let's face it. Yeah.
And so that was always what that was always what the thing was going to be. That was where the movie was going to be heading, and you knew
just how is it going to happen?
Yes, and so for it to happen in a way that she did not help her daughter in the slightest. In fact, she may have hindered her. Was
just
kind
ran
of
out and died.
was a bizarre thing that I was just like. I must say was not expecting that to be the ending, and
that's a good point. I guess I rolled with it a lot more than you did. Now that I'm looking back, I'm like, wait, you're gonna do. If I was the daughter, I'd just be like, wait a second, you're gonna do what?
Yeah, and she didn't express her complaints until the mother's already like, okay, we're going with the plan. And then she's like, wait a second, I'm thinking through this now. This doesn't make any sense. And then she's like, too bad, I'm going for it. And then she dies.
But it wasn't out of character for her at all.
To make bad decisions.
I mean, if you watch the first two acts,
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't out of the character for the mom to do something stupid.
That's what I'm saying. So was that the point of the film, which is also an odd point to make in a film like that, of like the mother is a complete idiot and the daughter knew better than her, is like a weird, which we knew already, or that they had been sort of setting that up, was a odd thing to like no growth, that like it just seemed to be an odd point to make. That your pinpoint of the entire movie is that this lady does not know what she's doing and that's how she's going to die. Is bizarre.
The growth is in the emotional stuff.
Yes,
with, like especially in the juxtaposing the two, like that scene where this is kind of going back to the daughter and the child's actor's performance, but like that scene where the daughter like holds the knife to the mom while she's asleep in the flashback and says like, I don't know, I can't remember what she says, but like, I wish you would die or something like that. Yeah. And then when she thinks her mom may be dead, she's like instinctively like, oh, please wake up. And I don't know if that was, I'm sure it was pretty intentional, but it was a great juxtaposition. And so, yeah, I think the crux of it isn't really about her learning to be a smarter person, because she does not. I think it's more about her learning that she doesn't hate her daughter and vice versa. And I think that part was achieved.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think that like that, it is a fascinating relationship. And I think that they, go through the sort of motions of what they're supposed to do in that, but I don't think that they, hit it as good as, or as squarely on the head as I think that they could have. I know what the point, I get the point. You knew the point before the movie even started. In the first scenes, it's like, okay, I know what's going to happen here. And I think that like they kind of, it kind of hit the nail, but it kind of bends, and it's like, okay, well, it got in its spot where it needed to and where you knew it was going to go, but it kind of got a little bit or whatever at the end. So that was my complaint about it, but it's
Night Moves was a much more surprising movie, whereas this one was kind of like, oh, I bet they're going to do that, and then they do that. So, I see that complaint.
Mm-hmm. But no, I think it's a, if you like horror, I guess we'll go into recommendations. I think, or if you like it or not. Is there anything else that you have? Any other notes that you have? Scenes that you like, or any notes that you have before we head into that?
I like the nonlinear storyline. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sam. Well, I was just going to say,
yeah,
I like that one shot where they pointed the camera through the IV bag in the ambulance as the guy goes out the door to meet his death. I thought that was kind of cool, but that's all. Sam, what you have, trust me, will be much more intelligent than that.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I really like the nonlinear storytelling. They could have shown this in a way. They could have done this linear, like a bunch of bad things happen, then all the or a bunch of bad home life stuff, and then the monster stuff later. I like that they chose to pepper it throughout. I thought that was nice. I like that the monster was portrayed as a wild animal, kind of like just a wild animal that it doesn't go into the dynamics of the monster that much, but it wasn't like your typical Halloween kind of monster. So I thought that was nice.
It appeared behind her and then didn't eat her, even though he had the opportunity to do that. And like, is his intention? Like, I mean, I know you don't have to go into it all that much, and if he's just the point is he's a wild animal and there's not, but like it still also seemed bizarre that like they didn't have like a clear of like, is he eating them or is he just playing with them?
Well, it said that the monster kills everything that comes into his forest. It didn't say whether they.
Oh, he lives there?
Yeah, that's his forest. They're trespassing.
Okay.
Nobody uses this road anymore.
Oh, you're right about that.
Oh,
that is said.
You didn't pay any attention to this movie at all, did you?
Watch this movie.
Wow.
He almost seemed of this earth. And that's
what I was thinking. Like, it's almost like an alien.
Yeah, that's kind of where my mind was, is that he was just like, or a demon or something that's just somehow inhabited this plane that we're at, or planet or something. Like I thought he was alien or demon, like just not of this planet. Cause he was, the fact that he had, I feel like it was hinted at why he caught so much of a fire is that he almost had oily type skin. That's why I understood it too, is he was some sort of...
He did catch fire, really. He was a very flammable guy. Like, she just sprayed him once, and then it was immediately, like, engulfed. So I was a little bit taken out of that. But that would make more sense if he was made out of, like, an oil or something.
But because he did have, like, a kind of... Like a slick kind of... Yeah, which in black tarry. So I I thought when it caught fire, like, oh, well, that makes sense from that perspective. That's what I thought. But, okay, sorry, go ahead. What other notes that you had?
Oh no, it's just then I think the last thing that I had was it just seems like it's a very simple plot, but then every time you think it's been solved, they keep I like the movie just lets one thing play out and throws another wrench into the gear. Like, okay, the tow truck guy's shown up. Oh gosh, she's been attacked. Okay, now the ambulance is here. So it just the script finds a way of creating obstacles in a way that I thought was very nice.
And they do telegraph those ahead of time, like you know that like. The guy shows up, the tow, and he's like, well, the ambulance is going to be here in just a few minutes. And then, like, so you know that that's happening, and they kind of, so you know the progression of the story very well, yes.
It does ride the line, though, of like, are you doing Chekhov's gun, or are you just telegraphing everything? And I think the movie, it's left up to the viewer, I think, whether they achieve it. I think they achieved it. Cade, I think you think that they just telegraphed it too much.
Well, yeah, I think, yeah, you knew kind of where, a lot of times, of where it was going. And of course, everyone who shows up is going to handle it in the sort of worst way possible, of like, they're just going to be like, okay, I'm gonna keep these keys in my pocket, and you're gonna stay in this broken down car and not get in the truck that operates, and I'm not gonna unlock it because I gotta check this thing out real quick in the middle of the pouring rain. And then like the ambulance come up and they're like, hey, what's going on here? As this lady's bleeding in the road. Everyone, let's go out and just look around. And they're like, let's leave. I'm bleeding out. And they're just like, I wonder what's the situation here. And it's just like, of course, yeah. Which, I mean, I don't fault the movie too much on that, because I mean, that does add to the tension, and we've all been in situations where you're in a highly intense situation, just the people around you handle it in the worst way possible, and so I'd never fault horror movies for that. Some people, I think, do. But I actually kind of like that part. I like when people handle situations horribly in horror movies, because I'm like, people do in real life. They would just handle this in the worst way possible, and like people who are like, because they would think that person's hysterical in that situation, and you're like, well, calm down a little bit. We're here, and we're gonna handle the things. And I did actually kind of like how the ambulance people handled that, in which it was poorly. The only other notes I had was in the very opening monologue, I said that's going to repeat at the very end of the movie. And I was correct with the voiceover at the beginning. I'm like, that's going to also close it out. That was very almost word for word there. And then other note, Diane and I watch a lot of A24 movies. We're working our way seemingly through all of A24's catalog.
That's because Cade has this thing about cheap, bad horror movies. He forces me to watch it because
they make other things that aren't horror movies too, and we've watched them. But it's still bizarre to me, and I'm going to keep harping on it every time, that they don't have a sound for their logo. They have quite obviously have this A24. Everyone knows the A24 film color thing on there. They need to just simply have
cheap.
They need to have a sound that goes with it, that immediately, because most film studios, most film things have some sort of sound that goes with it, and I can't stand that it's just complete silence. Make it just film pops, because it's supposed to look like film thing, or make it some cool little synth thing. I think they need to spend a few $1 million putting it out to different things, some sort of marketing people to figure out the best sound for that people can they can hear and know that that's A24. That's just free business advice.
Kidman.
Yes,
Nicole Kidman do it.
They're not really into that.
It's just all I'm asking for is 3 seconds of a song or a sound.
What they need is like a Netflix type of thing. They need, exactly what it is. It takes 2 seconds. It's not because what I hate is the opposite is whenever you have like a 30-second intro for a studio.
Yes.
And like some people, I can't remember what YouTube video originally made fun of this, but you're like, you think the movie's starting. You're like, okay, you're putting together, what is this movie going to be about?
Family Guy did that very, very famously.
Oh, that's what it is.
They're like, ooh, this movie's gonna be interesting. It's like a guy in a cabin, and then it's like guy in a cabin productions or whatever, and like
exactly.
That's one of my favorite bits. But I agree. Like that was a Marvel thing, and that was a Netflix thing that initially they didn't have sound or on those, and it was something that people sort of said, and I think marketers sort of know this, that like you need to spend some money on this, and that people can immediately know what it is. And Netflix, it's just a noise, and the bomb bomb, and it's Netflix, and even like they use that now for their like release, like their big events. They call them da bum or whatever, bandum. Ta-dum. That's it. And so,
what that's from originally?
What's that from?
I think it's from season 2, the cliffhanger ending to season 2 of House of Cards. Whenever spoilers for season 2 of House of Cards, when he becomes president, he bangs his hand on the So every time you hear the Netflix logo sound, you're hearing Kevin Spacey.
That's fascinating. Is that accurate? I mean, he does do that, and that is like sort of one of the first things. I guess it's not the exact sound, but it is a knocking sort of. Kind
of. They've done it. They've made it more. But yeah, it's his ring doing the on the table,
because that was one of his things, and that was their first sort of. I mean, it wasn't there was like I guess
I think it was their
second.
First original.
Lilyhammer was their first original way back in the day, that. And no one ever talks about Lilyhammer, and it's getting taken off of Netflix. Some people have been like,
what?
Yeah, because I guess it's
the end of an era.
It's the end of an era. But yeah, oh, you're playing the.
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah. Kazan.
Yes.
Zoe Kazan.
Okay.
Kazan.
So.
How are we saying it? Kazan? I think we said Kazan, but Kazan.
I was saying Kazan, but I need to say Kazan.
Kazan. Yeah, but no, I that's just one of those little things that I'm like, that needs to change. And it's just a simple thing.
Okay, so would you recommend this movie, Cade?
You want me to go into it? I'll go first. I feel like Sam go first, since this is.
Oh, I think it's clear. I would recommend this movie. I loved it. I thought it was good. It was a very different performance for Zoe Kazan.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best child actor performance I've seen since the movie Annette, and so I don't really see a lot of child actor performances that I like. This one really stood out to me. Did a great job. There's some of it. I think my perspective on it has lowered a little bit since we've talked about it today.
Sorry,
Cade, you pointed out a lot of things that gave me a lot to think about. So I think it does seem a little bit like baby's first indie horror film. Like they just met a lot of the things that typical indie horror films do, if there is a typical indie horror film. But I still like it a lot. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. I think it kind of is emblematic of the current trend of like the horror films where the real villain is our parents and our trauma. It's like kind of it fits that vibe. So I think for being that, if that is something that people like, of course, horror non-horror fans may not like this, but if you do like it, I think this is a worthy watch. I liked it a lot.
What would you rate the movie?
Oh gosh, I didn't even think about it. I would give it probably 5 bags of popcorn and probably a little car seat, like a car seat for a kid to sit in.
Okay. A car seat. Okay. Well, good. Yeah. Should we? This brings up a good point, because I know that you've talked about how much you love it. Should we add Annette to our movies to watch?
Oh my gosh, yeah! If you guys haven't seen Annette, the 2021 film from Prime Video, as problems with Amazon Prime notwithstanding, ethically, it is a fantastic film. Adam Driver is the best performance I've seen with him in it. It was my favorite movie of last year. Annette is a fantastic film.
Yes, I've known that you've tried to. All I could do is an airplane seat, by the way.
I like that you got the seat in there.
Yeah, well, we probably should. I know that you've spoke about it. I haven't seen that movie, but I know that you've said it over and over again. It's really good, so we might have to add that. It's a musical, right?
It is. It's a musical in the sense that Les Miserables is a musical. Like they sing a lot of the dialogue, so it's not like your Mamma Mia style jukebox musical where it's like, all right, let's take a break and do a song now. You can fast forward. No, like most of the script is sung, and I say that, and a lot of people just tap out right after they hear that. And if that's not your thing, I get it. But like, it just I don't want to say objectively, but just looking just at movies, it's just such a well-made movie that I if you like cinema, you should see Annette.
Well, Diane likes musicals, like singing in general. So this might be a good little bridge between our two likes there.
Yeah.
We've had an Adam
Musical
Driver
horror
night.
movie.
Well, it's not horror. It's not horror.
No,
It's
I get that,
yeah. It's just it's a I would think of probably a little art house. But we've had Adam Driver night earlier this on our season here, and so we might have to redo an Adam Driver night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Diane, would you recommend this movie, and what would you rate it?
I would recommend this movie. I mean, I'm not a horror fan at all, but I didn't really care for the jump scares. After the third one, I was like, okay, that's not going to bother me anymore. But I did love the depiction of this relationship, this completely broken relationship between these two, you know. And I think the child actor was amazing. And I appreciated that Zoe getting out of her comfort zone. Go for it, girl. She did. She committed. She was a nightmare. Anyway, can I give it 3 monsters? I sent you which monster I want to use. Please. He makes me stick to drinks. And the only drink that would even work with this one would be a bourbon, but because that's what they were drinking. But
I guess let's not make a habit of this, Diane.
Oh my God. You and your freaking rules. Never in my life.
There you are, 3 monsters. Yeah, no, it's fine, Diane. Do you want all the emojis, Diane? Because here's the problem here is that I don't pick drink emojis, so we don't cross over too often.
Well, you're welcome to pick any drink that you want.
No, I'm going to give this. First off, would I recommend this movie? Sure, I guess. Not a overwhelming recommendation, but if you just want like a horror film, I think I don't exactly know who this movie's like for. I think it like if you like sort of gore, it does some of that, but it's not hugely like a huge gore fest. So it's not that. I think if you like creature design, it does have that, which I do. I think it's more of an indie drama than anything, which it would also seemingly I would like, but it leans, like I say, a little too much trying to look like a studio horror with the jump scares and with the just sort of the way it's shot and everything. And for my taste, I think there was a way to sort of make that a little bit more interesting with the same budget and everything, but I don't think it really did that. The director also did The Strangers, which is a well-known horror film, which I think this is very different from that too, but I haven't ever seen The Strangers. So giving this movie an ambulance.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess I would recommend it, but not a strong recommendation. Not over a lot of other things, but I would recommend it. It's not. I would say it's not bad, but it's not great either. It's fine, in my opinion.
It's a good way to kill some time.
Yeah, I agree, and I do think that you don't have to. Some movies you have to very actively watch. I don't think you have to actively watch this movie as much. So I do think that not to disparage the film a little bit, but you can be doing other things for it, and you kind of get the gist of it. I think that's the case. Whereas I think like Night Moves, I liked sort of being in it a lot. I think in my case, I liked that movie a little bit better, or a lot better, I think, but in my case, but I liked being in it. And this one, it's just, I don't know. I got it. After a certain point, I got it. I got what they were doing and where they were going. Okay. We're going to go into our preview time, and we're just very shortly going to say what we're going to watch next week and, preview that, and then Sam, you'll get to plug your stuff again. So here is preview time.
And now, preview time. When it comes to entertainment, you can't beat a good film. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Okay, let's take a what's coming your way. This next week, we are watching The Visit from 2015, M. Night Shyamalan movie. A little comedy film from M. Night. A horror still. I guess we could have bumped that over as well, but we had two horror. Oh well, we done what we done now. But that should be fun. Haven't ever seen it, like always. Haven't seen these movies. Have you seen that movie, Sam?
I have. It's a really good one, actually. I like it a lot.
Well, cool. That's good. Think Diane would like it?
You never know with If Not what you're going to get,
Mm-hmm.
This was, I think, his like return to like the mainstream really, because everyone saw this like, wow, M. Night's back, and then I think he's back to making bad movies now.
Diane and Jennifer, who's on the show oftentimes, we went and saw Old in theaters when it was in theaters.
Was that on the good or bad side?
I kind of liked it, but I don't think anyone else liked it.
Yeah, I didn't hear good things.
It's kind of. To me, I looked at it almost like a Twilight Zone type thing. So it kind of had like this sort of kitschy element to it, but I think some people, it took them out of it. They of course has a twist, and it's makes no sense, but it's also just great. I liked it in a sort of kitschy kind of way. They were
actually young the entire time.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. It's I kind of liked it. I kind of liked it a lot.
Okay, so The Visit is free on Peacock.
Good.
And the Hulu Premium, if you have that subscription.
Yeah, I think if you have live TV on Hulu. So if you do that, you can have them. Or Peacock.
And then obviously you can rent it on Amazon Prime. And then it is showing on the Sci-Fi Channel on 11/11, which is too late for us.
Maybe you'll catch a recommendation and then
then watch it.
Yeah, then watch it.
We're going to tell you how it ends, so just so you're aware. And then, but yeah, go ahead.
And then our second film is The Invitation from 2016. Supposed to be a good little indie, thriller. I don't even know. I've seen it so many times on my Netflix feed way back. It's not on Netflix anymore, but it was constantly on that whenever early Netflix, and people really, really, really liked it. So I don't know. I've heard good things about it. I have not watched it. It's just a little kind of, I think I would call it, from just where I'd get fed things a lot, was like a psychological sort of thriller type thing. But I could be wrong about that. Diane, where's it at?
It's at Tubi.
Tubi, old friend of the show.
And then Peacock and Pluto.
Cool. Yeah, those are. Have you ever checked out Tubi, Sam?
I have not. No, I'm not familiar with it.
It is a free subscription service in which you don't even have to have an account. It does play ads during it, which sometimes it's nice, little break. Other times it's a little bit of a distraction.
Yeah, I watched Night Moves on Amazon Prime's like Freevee or whatever they have, and that came with ads, and that was a little bit. Night Moves isn't really the perfect movie to watch with ads. And
I started it that way, and then I was like, nope, and I bought it, or I rented it, and because I was just like, I can't do that with this movie.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it is. The
Invitation, that's not this past year's.
Yes, not the one that. Yes, not that one.
Okay.
Which I did see that one.
Oh, you did see that.
Yeah.
Was it good?
No, it was not good.
Yeah, it did not look good.
I mean, I'll spoil the twist there for 2020's The Invitation, not the one we're watching next week. She's goes out to this estate, and turns out they're all vampires, and they're gonna try to marry her and take her blood, or I don't remember what the whole thing was, but they're vampires. That was the twist. And Diane called that from the trailer, and I don't know how she called that from the trailer, but I guess it's a trope or something. But I was pretty impressed by that. She's like, "Oh, they're just like vampires," and I'm like, I spent money to go see that movie, and had it. Didn't realize that was going to be the case, but
yeah,
I kind of liked it when it went to that part, though. That was kind of.
It's gotten to schlock territory.
Yeah, got into schlock territory, and they were like, then it was revealed they're on top of a mountain of this village, and it becomes very kind of Dracula-esque, and I'm like, okay, I'm here for this now. But boy, those two halves did not mix well together, though. But yeah, we'll see the invitation next week. Sam. So those are two movies. Sam, did you enjoy being on the show?
It was a lot of fun. It was good
Okay.
to talk with you guys. Nice to meet you, Diane. And it was nice to take a look at these two movies that on my show, on my channel, I usually, outside of Star Wars, I typically just review what's new. You know, when we talked about Reservation Dogs, it was right after the finale. Talked about Don't Worry, Darling. So I'm always, looking at what's new. I have a hard time taking time to go back and look back at the back catalog. So it was nice to be able to do that with you guys today.
Yes, that's perhaps a difference here. Yeah, we don't really. Sometimes up top we'll talk new stuff, but most of the time we dig through movies on our watch list and things that we've kind of wanted to see, or movies that we don't see enough people like. Well, I'll dig through lists of like, here's movies that you missed, or and Diane's done the same thing too. We have this list that we're pulling from. That's
it's like we missed this when these came out. So let's watch them now and see how and we found some gems.
Yeah,
haven't we?
We have.
We really have.
I'll tell you one that I can't recommend enough. Both Diane and I both loved this. We'd say it a lot, is Bad Education, that we never really heard anyone ever talk about, and it got some awards, like Emmy Award, because it was made for TV. It was on HBO.
With Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
It's
Allison
on
Janney.
HBO Max.
Yes.
Okay.
Very, very
good
good. It's real life. It's a true story. It's a really, really, really good movie that I just hadn't heard. It's shot on film. Also, weirdly, it's shot on film, and they put it on HBO Max. And yeah, and someone directed that. So obviously, someone directed it, but someone who did other things.
Corey Finley is the director. Corey Finley.
And what did he do before that?
Other films like. Well, Thoroughbreds is a movie that I want. It's on my watch list.
Okay.
That apparently I need to see.
That was what I was thinking of. Yeah.
He also did other things.
Thoroughbreds is good.
Thoroughbreds.
Yeah. I referenced
Olivia
Thoroughbreds.
Cook is in that. Looked like she was really good in House of the Dragon.
Oh yeah. House of the Dragon's over now. Are you going to talk? Are you going to talk about House of the Dragon at all on your show?
Thank you for that setup. I will take that and run with it. Yes. So on the November 7th episode of the Film Fan Club show, which is 1 week from tomorrow, we are going to be talking about the House of the Dragon. The episode will actually be titled Rings versus Dragons, Battle of Fantasy TV. So I'm making my way through Lord of the Rings. I don't know what it says about it, that I watched House of the Dragon in real time and then waited until Lord of the Rings was over to binge it. I tried watching the first 2 episodes, and I'll spoil the ending. I'm not as into Lord of the Rings, so that's why I'm binging it instead of House of the Dragon. I was so captivated. I wanted to watch it week to week. So that's next week on the Film Fan Club show, November 7th. We can talk about House of the Dragon.
Yes, I after our show every week for the past 10 weeks, I've after we're done recording here, I go and watch House of the Dragon. It's been my first week that's not part of my routine, and I don't know what to do with it now with my Sunday evenings.
You'll have to listen to Sam's
Star Wars.
I love that. Thank you.
Sometimes Diane's better at plugs than I am.
I am push all the buttons. Like, subscribe, push the buttons. Buy the merch. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. There's merch in the store. Merch
in the store.
No, we don't have merch. But if someone wants to make merch we should have merch.
That hat that you have on.
Yeah, I'll sell this hat to the highest bidder.
Yeah. Sam's Cade.
I was going to say, are we going to take time to answer super chats at the end?
Yes. Yeah. I guess I'll check out Sam's stuff, the Film Fan Club.
Yeah, youtube.com/the Film Fan Club. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Cade.
Definitely. And if you are listening to this as a podcast and you prefer podcasts, how can they find your podcasts?
All of the links to the various platforms are at anchor.fm/the Film Fan Club. But of course, if you type in the Film Fan Club show on Spotify or Apple, you should be able to find it. But all the links to the various platforms are at anchor.fm/the Film Fan Club.
And if you are searching, Fanclub is one word, correct?
Yeah, because I messed up in 2015 when I made the title and I didn't realize that fan club is 2 words. But yeah, so type it as 1 word. That should make it easier.
I think you're inventing words, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yes, and I'll plug our episode of Reservation Dogs we did, or if you want to go back into the archives, I did an episode way back in 2016 or something like that.
I found and listened to a little bit of the original episode. It was a blast from the past. But yeah, you were on the old show in 2016,
and we might have talked Rogue One. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
We talked about like maybe. I think it was like whenever they were reshooting it or something. I'll have to find out.
Yeah,
we'll post a link somewhere. But.
Yeah, and that was kind of my first movie sort of talk thing. So it's kind of cool. Come for full circle now. You're on my movie talk thing. Yeah.
You're welcome, guys. I built this whole thing right here. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
Yeah. Can I plug something?
Oh, sure,
Absolutely.
Diane.
Thank you. I watched The Good Nurse on Netflix. With Eddie Redmayne and Jessica Chastain.
Oh.
So good. Jessica's amazing in it. She's
and you're in
amazing
that
on
movie,
stage.
right, Diane? That's why you're plugging it?
I'm plugging it because it's on Netflix, so who knows how long you'll get to see it. But that was a really good movie. Yeah. And it's based on a true story. And it's a good one.
I love both of those actors.
Yeah. It's definitely worth a watch.
Mm-hmm.
So just wanted to point that one out.
Well,
and
you had me with 2 words there, Diane, and you know what 2 words those were?
Jessica Chastain. It's funny. Eddie Redmayne and her are both redheads. She has 2 daughters in this movie. They're both redheads. It's like the movie of the redheads.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
Everybody's redheaded in this movie. So, yeah. Interesting little tidbit there. But yeah, I think you'd really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I rarely have time to watch anything but the movies that we have. So I watched a couple this week, and I just wanted to share that.
Yeah.
Watch The Good Nurse. You'll enjoy it. I would say you guys should watch The School of Good and Evil, but they're really not your kind of movies. But Ava, you will love it.
What's
it
that?
has Charlize Theron in it. It has Kerry Washington. And then it has these 2 new actresses that are both named Sophie that play the princesses, and they are so good in this. It is a princess story. A School of Good and Evil. So, yes, very good. Very, very good.
Fascinating.
There was no horror.
I watched
really good special effects, though. Directed by one of your favorites that directed Ghost. Yeah. Yeah. So
everybody hates him for
effects.
some reason.
I don't mind. I mean, like, when you take into account, like, what was Freaks and Geeks into his canon, I'm like, okay, I give him a little bit more credit. That's where he started at. And that is really good.
It's a great show.
Yeah, it is a great show. It's one of the greats, and it's him and Apatow, and still kind of probably the peak of both of their careers as far as I'm concerned. It's a great show. So you have to give him credit for that. I saw Don't Worry, Darling this weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I finally have to go and see
like
that.
It?
Could you sense the tension on the set?
Diane and I have talked a lot about the whole background, and I was like, I better just watch the movie just to see what it is. That couldn't have been the original ending to that film. I just can't imagine that like that was where they resolved Chris Pine's character.
It feels like so much was cut out. Yeah, it feels so rushed at the end.
And like they're like, well, wait till whatever. You can't talk about the sort of thing with that. But like that, like it seemed like there was going to be. It ends too early. Like it just hard cuts to like there was supposed to be more after that, right? Or I don't know.
That movie makes no sense. Like, what does the plane mean? What's
the plane mean? I thought the same thing. Yeah,
what does anything mean? There's like setting stuff up and then paying it off later, and then there's just setting stuff up and then just like ending the movie.
Yeah, they're just like, and we're done. We're just gonna call it.
Yeah,
I think it's where the movie's like, and then they realized, oh god, we didn't have a good wrap up for Chris Pine's character. They just shoot something.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though it makes no sense,
What a
that's
mess.
that's the wrap up of it. Like it was like a rushed ending. Like everyone was just like, let's just get out of here. And like that's one of like someone told me Warner Brothers has 2 movies this year, and it's that and Black Adam, and that's their only 2 movies.
Black Adam. Jesus. Hey,
Like,
at least they got The Flash next year.
That huge of a studio releasing, betting on those 2 films is insane. And like that they didn't do more with it, and like wow. Talking about the Hollywood system there, that I just am shocked by one of the, great studios to have 2 films and that be the sort of quality that you're putting out is crazy, and not have that much of a handle.
Year. Yeah, this is kind of a transition year for them because they're next year, or now going into next year, is really going to be the Discovery era.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do in the future.
And part of me thinks with like Don't Worry Darling's problem is the fact that it was sort of a movie that was shot when it was shot in, of just the, like, with the rules, the safety rules, that like,
right.
It was very obvious that like, here's interiors and they can only have like X amount of people interior, but then they can kind of have bigger crowd things or whatever. But like, so that's why like the ending, like, I don't think they could have done the ending that they wanted to do, or the movie needed it to have, because of I think the protocols and stuff. That's my theory. I'm just trying to help the movie out in some sort of way, because I cannot imagine that was the script and that was intentional, because they all agreed to that movie with that ending, where it's just like, and we're done, and that's it. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, poor Florence Pugh. After all the stuff she went through allegedly behind the scenes,
yeah, exactly.
And then to release the film, and then the end product be that, like, she just like, she better have gotten paid well.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that I think no one blames her. And no one faults her for any sort of problem with that movie. Everyone still has the same reputation that they have of her, and everyone loves her still. And so, at the end of the day, it didn't really hurt her in any way.
Will Olivia Wilde be given another big film, though? I don't think so.
That's just it. I was looking up that that first one that she did got such high praise.
Booksmart. One of my favorite films that year, 2019 or whenever it was.
And then they give her this one, and I'm wondering what will happen. Will she get funding for the next one?
Well, she's not going to work at Warner. I know, probably.
Probably not. And how many actors will kind of stay away from her too? Speaking of Florence Pugh, she just was cast in the remake for East of Eden. They're going to make a series out of East of Eden, and you know who's doing it?
Who?
Zoe Kazan.
She's writing it and directing it, or what?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that should be interesting.
Grandfather did the first one, the movie. Her grandfather did. Yes.
Oh, that's
so. Just an interesting little tidbit there.
Just some nepotism, some light nepotism.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I liked Wildlife. We talked about that earlier. She wrote that with Paul Dano. I thought that was a pretty good film.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier in our season, just so you know. I thought earlier when Diane was going to plug things, I thought she was going to plug Cade and Friends. If you haven't watched our Halloween Spooktacular yet, we should check out Cade and Friends. It's on the set. We have, you still have tonight to watch it, or tomorrow, all of tomorrow. So if you listen to this as a podcast next day, quickly go over there while you still have the chance, because otherwise it's going to be dated. But it was a lot of fun. We tried all the cereals. I still have them here, Diane, in case you want a box of.
Oh my gosh! No, I'm good. Although I did see where what are those? Oh gosh, what are those? There's this candy that old man Werther's. Yeah. They have all these different flavors, and I thought, Cade should do a taste testing of these different fall flavors for Werther's. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll spoil it here. We all hated Blueberry. It was our least favorite.
We did hate Blueberry. Was awful.
We ranked them all.
Turned the milk blue. It was awful.
Yeah. It was not good. So listen to that, Cade and Friends. It was a lot of fun. a lot of fun doing that.
It was a great fun spooktacular.
It was spooktacular.
With Krim.
With Krim, who does the music for that and has done music for my films and stuff. So it was nice doing that. Well, I think we're gonna get off of here, Sam. If that sounds good to you.
Back on.
Everyone, go right now. Sam put out his Star Wars video, or Disney Star Wars video essay. What's the title of that? Why?
The title is Why I Hate My Favorite Franchise, A Star Wars Story Part 1. I wanted to make it something that rolls off the tongue really well.
I like it.
Great. Well, go and check that out right now at the Film Fan Club, and because it is really good. Yes, and then follow him on all of his socials, right?
Yeah, I tweet about the video a lot, so you can find it there.
Great. And if you listen to us on our video, we every Sunday at around 6 p.m., 6:15, we live stream Double Feature Movie Club on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Cade Thomas. You can listen to it there, or you can watch it anytime after that as it's archived on the YouTube channel. You can also listen to it as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Double Feature Movie Club the next day, Monday mornings at 6 is when I typically put those out and schedule them to go out. So check them out there. Next day is on Mondays. Wherever you're listening to it, as Diane says, click all the buttons. Click like, rate us 5 stars, whatever you do. Subscribe, follow, all the buttons. Am I leaving anything out, Diane?
I don't think you are, Cade. I think you've done an excellent job.
Thank you. And also, I'm going to miss this projector from for all of our restaurants. That's amazing projector, Diane.
I know, isn't that great? You know, I have other holidays. I could probably leave it set up and see what I can find.
I say just, we just incorporate that, like make a whole projector show behind you every week.
There you go.
Yeah.
I just need it on an SD card. So thank you. Make that happen.
Cool. Okay. Well, we'll see you next week. We're talking the movies The Visit and The Invitation. See ya.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Bye.